Kia ora whānau. I guess we're finally at it and we're actually now going to be starting to put together our kit to be able to water your plant. So yeah man, we're up to the fun part. I guess just briefly want to go over what we need whānau. I guess of course we're going to need our learning kit or the automatic garden learning kit. So I've got all of that laid out here whānau. Next to that you're actually going to need some supplies from home and it's not that much to be honest whānau. You're going to need some sort of cup or some sort of container that can hold water. We're going to use this as our tank. I've got a bit of a rubber band here. This is going to help us later where we go to hook up our tube. And of course you're going to need a plant whānau, so just grab a plant from around home. And inside here we've also got a just a stick whānau to be honest, and we're going to rubber band or tie our tube to this so we're able to point it in a direction where we shoot the water. So yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff or extra stuff you need. One quick note is that it's actually quite handy to have like with our pot plant here, it's actually quite handy to have like a pot plant that can drain water and then something that can catch it all. This is going to be super handy because there may be times whānau when you're testing your kits and you're testing your watering and your plant may get a bit drowned. So we'll try not to drown it out too much, but it does happen whānau just when we're setting it all up sometimes. So being able to get rid of some of that water is super handy and going to be very nice to our plant here. So pretty much that's all you need whānau, and let's get into the build. Easy as. Now we've got that out of the way whānau, let's start building this up. I'm going to start with the motor here whānau, and we're going to connect up some wires. So in your kit you will have noticed that you've got about 6 wires. You've got like 2 red, 2 yellow, 2 black. Essentially each of the 3 wires is to help you connect up each device, so the motor and also the source sensor. So I'm going to first grab one of each. Then I'm going to hook it into our motor here. So super simple whānau, black and black, red and red, yellow and yellow whānau. So I'm just going to connect those up right now. Cool. And then we're going to take our motor, or the cables from the motor whānau, and we're going to connect that into our Arduino. Now, just essentially going to plug in the black into our ground line here. So you'll notice too on the Arduino, the ground line's pretty easy to pick up because it's got 2 pins on it. So I'm going to take our black cable, going to plug it in there. Cool. We're then going to take the red cable whānau, and then we're going to plug that into the 5-volt pin. So that's pretty much right next to the ground line. So I'm going to take that and plug that in there. Cool, perfect. We're then going to take our yellow cable and we're going to plug that into D4 on the WeMOS, and that one there is GPIO pin 2. So just keep that in mind whānau, as we build it up and we get into our coding. Just remembering that it's GPIO pin number 2 is going to help with our code. So yep, hook that into D4 and our motor controllers all connected up. Cool. We're now going to connect in the moisture sensor. So again, grab those other 3 wires whānau. We're going to plug them into the sensor first. So just like before, yellow and yellow whānau. Okay, black and black. And red whānau, easy as. Now that we've got those attached whānau, we're going to connect that into our Arduino. So the black wire, that's going to go into the ground again. Remember how we had 2 pins on the ground line? So plug that into the other pin. Cool. We're now going to take our yellow cable and that's going to go into A0, which is essentially our analog pin on the Arduino. So look for that whānau and plug it in. Boom. The last cable here, the red one, that's going to go into a power line, and we're going to plug this into the 3-volt power line. So just over there, boom. And essentially it should look something like this whānau, connected there, plugged into over there, we're pretty much good to go. Awesome. So next, I'm just gonna move that off to the side a little bit. And then what I'm gonna do, whānau, is I'm gonna bring our plant back in. Cool. So I'm gonna put our little cup there, bring in our plant. I might just move that over a little bit more. There we go. Cool. Now, what we're gonna do, whānau, is we're gonna just, hook it all up. I'm gonna might go in with the moisture sensor first and plug that into our soil. Really press it down there, whānau, too, so it's nice and tight. And if you have to, just pack in the soil back around it to keep it nice and strong. Cool. And then, maybe try and bring that out to the side. Cool. And then we're going to take our water pump and put it into the water. Cool. And then remember at the beginning, we had a rubber band. Okay, we're going to use our rubber band to be able to tie this down. I want it sort of pointing just like that, whānau. So I'm going to, I don't know, try and tie it up as much as I can, but let's get in there, whānau. I'm going to get my rubber band, just wrap it around, to be honest. I don't know what I'm doing, but this should work. Pull it over there, boom. And I'm just going to pull it out just a little bit. And pull it back just a little bit more. That's it, whānau. I think we're all good to go. Cool. With our kit now attached, whānau, we can finally start getting into our coding. But before we get into that, I actually want to run one more test. I've already gone ahead and I've watered our plant to the right moisture level. Now, if I take a quick reading now, this will help ensure we don't overwater it in our code. So let's quickly do that now, whānau. Before we actually upload our code, whānau, I'm going to quickly detach our motor from the Arduino. I want to do that just in case we accidentally pump some water while we're running this test. So I'm going to go to the Arduino and I'm going to unplug the red cable that's plugged into our 5-volt line. That's the power for the water pump. So I'm going to unplug that there. I'm next going to plug in our USB cable, plug that into our Arduino, and then plug it into our computer, whānau. And let's head on over to the computer. So we've already got our code written up here, and it's pretty much the code that we used the last time. So this is just going to help us read that moisture level. So I'm just going to go up to the upload button, boom, and we're going to upload the code. And now that our code's uploaded, whānau, let's have a quick little reading, I'm going to go up to Tools, and I'm going to open up the serial monitor. Cool. So, just looking at the monitor, whānau, I can see that our moisture level is sitting around the 369 mark, 370 mark. Might just push in our sensor just a little bit more, see if we get a different reading. Cool. So it's sitting around the 370 mark. I think that's perfect. What I'm going to do, whānau, is I'm just going to take a mental note of that number because we're going to use that when we get over into our coding. So now that we've done that test, whānau, let's get into writing up our final bit of code. So now that we've run our test, whānau, it's time to actually start getting into our code. Now, just under this video, there'll be a link where you can pick up this bit of code here. So just want you to click that link, head on over, copy and paste the main code, and then bring it into the Arduino IDE. Okay, cool. So now I've already got mine set up here, and we're going to do a quick little look and understand a little bit more about what this code is doing, whānau? So jumping up the top, we've got the serial begin. So what this is doing, whānau, is it's starting up our serial monitor so we can start feeding it information, okay? So we're going to need that because we want to be able to read and just pick up where needed on where our moisture level's at. Next, just below that, we've got this little bit of code that says pin mode number 2 is set to output. So essentially, there's different modes for the pins. You can set them as an input or an output. In this case, we're setting it to an output so we can send information or send a signal out it. And do you remember how we were talking earlier about GPIO pin 2? So our motor's plugged into that one, and we've got a number 2 here. So essentially what we're doing here is we're setting GPIO pin to be able to send out information through that line there, and that's going to talk to our motor, so we can actually turn it on and turn it off. So down in our loop section, whānau, we've got an if and else statement, and what that's helping us do is it's checking to see if something's happening, then it's going to do an action, and if it's not happening, do something else. So within our code, what we've got happening in the if section is if analog read A0, so that's what we've got our sensor plugged into. If it's greater than 550, so with our sensor whānau, the lower the number is when we're reading it, the more moist it is, or the more moist the soil is, okay? If that value is higher, say up around the 700 mark, it's going to be really, really dry, okay? So what we're saying here is if A0 is greater than 550, okay, we're going to come down to this next little part here. It's going to go analog write on pin number 2, 350. So it's pretty much writing on pin number 2, our motor, a value of 350. Now that's pretty much turning our motor on and giving it a power of 350. So essentially it's shooting water out whānau. Now at the same time, we're going to send a little bit of information over to our serial monitor. So we've got serial print line here, and then in brackets we've got moisture level. So that's just going to write, you've already seen this code whānau. It's going to write moisture level into our serial monitor. And then it's also going to quickly write in the actual number or the value of that moisture level at that point in time, okay? We've then got in a delay, and what we're doing here is we're pumping our water, and then we're going to delay for 1 second, so it turns on our pump for 1 second, and then just down here we've got analog write pin number 2 to 0. That's going to turn off our pump, okay? So up here we're turning it on, giving power of 350, boom, sending information to our serial monitor. It's waiting 1 second, and then it's going to turn it off. Pretty cool, eh? Just down in the else section, okay, we've got analog write 2 to 0, so we're turning off our pump. We're also writing the moisture level again, and then we're also waiting, okay? Now, the reason why we've got it like that, whānau, is that top section, it's always checking to see if the value is over 550, or if the moisture is over 550. Now, if it's not, we're just gonna make sure our pump's off and then wait another 5 seconds, because we don't want to be checking it too fast because we're going to run out of too much battery. So we've always got in that little delay of 5 seconds. Now you can make that longer if you want. If you want to try and save power, you can delay it for a minute if you like. But what we're doing is we're waiting 5 seconds before it jumps back up to the code again and starts running it, eh? Well, hopefully I got that right, whānau. I'm still new to coding and learning it myself, but essentially that's what our little bit of code does. So what we're going to do, whānau, is if you copy and paste that into the IDE, and let's get it uploaded and start checking to see if it's watering. Cool. Now that we've got it uploaded, whānau, let's actually give it a quick little test, and see if it's watering properly. So before we unplugged our water pump, I'm going to plug back in the power. Okay, cool. It's GPIO pin number 2. Cool. At the moment, probably because our soil is moist, it's not watering, but let's quickly pull out our moisture sensor to ensure that it's actually working if it gets dry. So fingers crossed, whānau, fingers crossed. Oh, there it is. I'm going to plug it back in quickly because I don't want to drown the plant. Okay, bit of water's come out. We'll do it one more time just for you, whānau. Okay, oh, probably because that's wet. Okay, it's still wet here, whānau. Oh, there we go again. Okay, sorry, I was about to grab a cloth then so give it a dry, but whānau, it's working. What do you reckon? Hopefully your one's working. Now, there are a few tweaks that we can do to our code too. Maybe it's pumping too much water or it's pumping it too fast. In our code, under the if statement, or in the if section, we've got analog write 2 to 350. Now, if you make that number lower, this should decrease the amount of water it pumps. You can also play with the time as well. So it's got a pump time of 1 second, and actually you could make that 500 to do it half a second if you don't want it to run as long. So depending on your plant and how much you actually want to water it and stuff like that, play with those numbers and then see, find the right and perfect amount of time to water your plant. But cool, whānau. I think that's the kit together, and I'm hoping that it's working for you.